Hello again. So, does anybody remember this? This bin is the strictly cardboard only worm bin, and it was set up on 27th of February 2019, and it was set up with 27 worms. Now, if you haven't followed this or you're not aware of why this was set up as strictly cardboard only, I think it was in 2017 into 2018 I did an experiment to see if worms would live and thrive on cardboard only. But I set the bin up using some guinea pig bedding, and then I only fed the bin cardboard. And with the harvested, what I called vermi-cardboard, I grew some radish, lettuce, might have grown some beetroot, I can't remember. No, I had a few mixed things that I grew. And the produce grew extremely well. But there was always this thing in the background that actually a lot of the nutrients or whatever may have come from the guinea pig bedding, which it was initially started with, and there was a couple of questions asked around it, and so I thought, okay, what I'll do is I'll run this for a long period of time, and I'll start it with cardboard, and I will only ever feed it cardboard, nothing else. So the 2 years are up, and to be honest, it's not great. Now, I don't know if it's picking him up. You've got an escapee, an attempted escapee. Very small little worm. And the first thing I noticed about the bin, I had to bring it inside because not the neighbours, but people a few doors down, they're blasting horrific music. The sides of the bin are absolutely, see, I can't show you now because this is on a tripod. The sides are covered in casts. And if you take a look here, I don't know if that's picking it up, but there's been a lot of escapees. Yeah, there has been a lot of escapees. Now, before anybody panics, you'll know if you've watched any of my videos that with all my worm bins outside, I leave sheets of cardboard lying around. So for that reason, I know no worms perished. Any worms that got out of the bin, and it's a lot of them, they'll have made their way into the cardboard, and I'll have found them and put them in one of the raised beds or in one of the other worm bins or whatever. So I don't think for a second any worms perished. I do know for a fact there's been a lot of escapees just on the amount of casts, based on the amount of casts that I can see on the side of the bin. And I think the reason for that may be because I stopped feeding, I fed this right up to the top. This is a 35 litre container, and it was fed right to the top with sheets of cardboard, and I haven't looked at it or touched it since. Now here's the other thing, it's very, very dry. If you wonder what happens to sticky tape that you leave on cardboard if you add it to a worm bin, that's what happens. The worms will eat all the way around, including the glue, and they'll just leave the bit that they don't like. So there's that's like glue that was on some packaging that was added in. There's not many worms in here, and the ones that are tiny, so I suspect these are guys. Am I in shadow or am I getting it in the light? These are guys who, these are cocoons that have hatched pretty recently. That's another adolescent, not quite an adult. There's another guy. I mean, there's a lot of movement in them. They're healthy worms, but you can sense almost, I think, just how dry this is. Now, that's really surprised me, because the one thing I've never ever had to do is add moisture or water to any of my bins. That's obviously something off. Packaging again. There's one unfinished little piece of cardboard. Oh, there's a little cluster of worms here in the corner. very, very small worms. I would say all pretty recent hatchlings. So it seems like they're hatching and leaving. And that, I think, is because this got very dry, because, like I said, I haven't been checking this at all. I think I fed it 5 or 6 times by literally soaking cardboard in the water butt and then filling this, roughly tearing it by hand. I haven't even shredded it. And just fill this 35 litre container to the top and just leave it. And then when I remember it, I come back to it and feed it again. So I think in 2 years it's been fed about 6 times, lots of cardboard up to the top, and I've just left them. I didn't think it would ever get this dry, and I didn't think yeah, that's so this will not be a good environment. However, you can see from it, I hope, with this horrible lighting, it's beautiful stuff, and this is just ready to use. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to sift out the worms and sift out any unfinished bits, which is really labels and bits of plastic that was on the packaging. I'm going to put this stuff into containers, and I'm just going to grow from it. So I'm not going to mix it with any other compost. I'm just going to see how this does with growing some crops again. And because this will be strictly cardboard, as nothing else went into this except cardboard. I can't see any cocoons. Tiny, tiny, tiny little baby. And any of the bigger worms, I'm not noticing any patella on them. I'm trying to hold this so it's not in shadow. They are lively and look healthy. But not much body on them, but that's probably because they're all juveniles. There's nothing else really of note. That's it really. I'm going to draw this to an end now. It's a bit disappointing after 2 years. When I did this 6-month update, there was, I think I counted 300 and something, 400 something worms, which was about the right amount of worms I would have expected. Had there not been a ton of escapees, which there clearly has, and had I kept an eye on the moisture, this is the first time ever moisture has been an issue. Lack of moisture has been an issue in a worm bin of mine. And obviously feed. They've finished everything that's in here, which is incredible if you think this was filled right to the top. So no, there's no cocoons that I can see. Another little guy. I didn't think that they would have finished all of that in, oh gosh, I suppose October, November, December, January, February, March. It's 5 months, I suppose, 5.5 months. Yeah, but I didn't think they would finish it. So, I mean, there's clearly been a ton of worms in to finish, a 35 litre container full to the top with moistened cardboard. But it seems like they finished the job and left, basically. But at the 6-month update, yeah, I was saying, I think it was 300, 400 something worms. And then I think a few months after that, it looked like there were even more worms when I fed it. And then there was numerous months gap, and then I fed it again. and then I fed it September gone, and that was it. So, can worms compost just cardboard, and will they be happy living in it? Yes, although you wouldn't know it by the end of this video. Like I said, it's a bit disappointing. I wanted to be able to show you a bin heaving with worms, but not to be. However, what I want to do now is I'm going to sift these worms out, sift all these little bits and pieces out, and I'm going to put them into put this vermi-cardboard into a container. It's beautiful stuff. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. What does it smell like? Hold on. Yep, it's got a lovely forest floor smell. And I'll grow some stuff. Actually, I've got some peppers coming on, so I might try a few peppers this time. The lettuces was quick growing and the radish is quick growing, so I actually want to grow something that's going to take numerous months and not give it any extra nutrients, just whatever. So it will literally be growing in the vermi-cardboard, and we'll see how the plant does. So I've got some peppers. Might try an aubergine. Tomato, that would be a good one. I've got loads of tomatoes coming on, so I'll try some tomatoes. And that's it. That's the end of 2 years. Instead of going out with a bang, went out with a bit of a fizzle. But it was, to me, it was very interesting anyhow, because there's no doubt about it. It's the worms did do extremely well on just cardboard, and while the bin was running properly, it was thriving, really. It's just unfortunate. I seem to well, I underestimated how quick the worms would go through that last massive feed, and it seems they've like I say, they've eaten it all, converted it all into vermi-cardboard, and then promptly left. Okay, as always, I hope you're all keeping safe and well. It'll be in the container garden playlist whenever I sift this and pot on some peppers and tomatoes or whatever I decide to do with it. There's little or nothing to be done to this. I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful stuff, but yeah, unfortunately I don't have a massive bin of worms to show you, which I appreciate can make the whole thing look like the worms were not happy, except you can look at the finished vermi-compost, the amount of stuff I have here, and you know that they were, because they've been very busy. There's still quite a few. There's probably 100 worms or so, but they're tiny. Tiny, tiny worms. Old babies. So I reckon I'm guessing if there was a lot of cocoons laid as the worms departed, they left the babies to hatch and make their own way through, finishing off whatever is to be found in here. And then as these would get bigger, I'm guessing they would leave, but they're going to leave as adolescents, not mature worms. So there would, in effect, well, the bin would have harvested itself, in effect, really, wouldn't it? Because there would be no cocoons left and no worms. Had I left this another couple of months, I reckon, I'd have had a self-harvested worm bin. And like I said, just to reassure you all, because I leave so much piles of cardboard around the place, and where this bin was located, the raised beds, which is full of horse manure, which are full of horse manure, I should say, are only a couple of feet away from it. I reckon that's where they all just headed off to. Somebody probably told them there was horse manure out there, and they just decided, oh, to heck with this cardboard, let's go get some decent grub. So that's it. I'll leave it there. As always, thanks for watching. Bye for now.